Hey everybody, I'm Jan Erickson from Stepping Aside, and welcome to As Above, So Below, our rune and tarot divination for Monday, the 24th day of June, 2024. Interesting numerology here. Normally I just look at the day. Uh, 24 gives us 6, but we have 2024 where there's another 24. Reducing to 6, you have the 6th month, so you've got some 6s as a synchronicity there. The 24s are a synchronicity. If you add all of it together to get the life path, depending on how you do that, you're either going to get a 2 or you're going to get an 11. 11 reduces to 2, so it's just with the 11. That's the master number 11, which is awakening and illumination and enlightenment. 2 is more the lower vibrational of it, or the physical reality side of that is more about how you manifest love and commitment and harmony and healing. It's also about decisions, but it's balance. Same though with the 11. It's just that with the 11, you're just looking at a higher vibratory experience there than you do with the 2. But keep that in mind. Keep the master number 11 in mind for today. And see then if we get that here with the runes or with the cards or together with the whole numerology of the reading. See if we see a synchronicity there, or if maybe there's a synchronicity with the 6s, maybe. Let's look for that. Here we have Thurazaz. Now Thurazaz is the 3rd rune of the Elder Futhark, half the number of the 6. So we have a magnification, a doubling of that 3 energy. Where you manifest with a 6, you would manifest love and guidance and support and empathy and assistance, harmony with people. But here, this is a real manifestation type of a rune. It means Thor's hammer. It's defense. It's new beginnings. It's not. It's. You're really looking at what opposes you. You can see this kind of looks like a rose thorn. A thorn on a rose bush here would be the stem or the stalk of the rose plant, and then you would have the thorn right there. If you've ever tried to prune roses or grab a rose that's hidden inside, you can get yourself stuck. Another one that's a deceptive tree is the hawthorn tree. You stick your hand in there, and it's got needles all over the branches. You have to be very careful. But essentially, you can think about, in terms of the thorn, you can think about what opposes you. It can mean giants. Thor was considered to be a giant. And so the giants create chaos. so it can be a chaotic type of a thing. It could be reflect impulsive behavior with Thurazaz. And so trying to control all of that within, when you're looking at the runes, you're looking at basically the same side type of soul archetype cards that you're looking at with the major arcana. And so, again, let's see what the Geomancy rune has to say, and then also what the cards have to say. But with Thurazaz, we don't yet know if this is talking about controlling impulsive behavior or the chaos within, maybe. Some people suffer from anxiety. That could be, considered the chaos within. Where are you going? There's you can stop there. It's rolling off that way here. Let's put these in the order of fire, air, water, and earth. There's fire, there's air, there's water. No, that's air. This is earth. So we're looking at Amicio, I think. Yep, we're looking at Amicio, which is loss. And loss doesn't, in this case, does not have to be financial. It can be. It could just mean decrease. I tend to look at Amicio and its complement Acquisitio as energetic in nature versus necessarily something that is like a loss of something, like you lost something or a loss of income or whatever. This would be Amicio, and its complement then would be Acquisitio. Acquisitio would be gain. So if you think of it in terms of positive and negative or increase and decrease, this could actually mean the loss of or decrease of, say, a lack of impulse control. So you're, in other words, you're getting more grounded, and you're able to see that impulse control is a good thing to have, instead of, just sort of freewheeling it and doing as you please, whatever you please, because that doesn't always turn out well, right? Cottonwood fuzz is flying. Seeding cottonwood everywhere. Okay, where did that go? There it went. If I could just grab it. It's like I dropped the 7 of Cups, which may or may not be important later on. We'll see. Be interesting if I end up drawing that, wouldn't it? But whenever you drop a card, or more than one, pay attention to what they are. There could be they could represent an underlying message that isn't necessarily in the reading. So when you have the 7 of Cups, it could mean, you're keeping your head in the clouds, or you're thinking about things in an unrealistic way. Maybe I tend to try to see it in a positive way, which is, if you don't dream about things that may seem unrealistic at the moment, how do you know that maybe down the road, the choices you've made will lead you toward all of that? And maybe they weren't so unrealistic after all, because you got to have goals, you got to have dreams, it all starts there. So, but just keep it in mind. We'll see if it even matters. It may not, but when it does, it's kind of fun. So I've cut the deck, taken the lower half. I have 1 card from the Suit of Pentacles, 1 card from the Major Arcana, and 1 card from Swords. I'm going to put the Major Arcana card up a little bit from the other 2, and kind of use it as maybe the main focus of the card part of the reading. But we begin with the 6 of Pentacles. Now you see right above there, above the scene here, you see an unevenness. Instead of having 3 here and 3 here, it's up here. And so you see the guy, he's standing up. You see these 2 guys are on the ground. So there's a sense of unevenness there. The Man of Means is offering coins. So it's a 6 card. So there's your 6 numerology for the month and for the day. But at the same time, he's not elevating these people off the ground either. He's holding the scales kind of behind him, out of his peripheral vision, so he can't really see it. And they're even with one another, but is the evenness an illusion in this case? Is he really helping them, or is he in effect, by not giving them enough, by not giving them a job or helping them find one, to truly lift them out of the poverty that they're in? Now, you could just look at it superficially and say, well, but he is offering them something, but I look at what he's offering, and this guy hasn't gotten his yet, and I don't know that that's going to happen. See, we don't know that. We can assume it, right? We can assume something really positive here. But to me, if he's a man of means, then why isn't he saying, hey, come on, get up, let's go. I've got a job I can give you guys. Or I know somebody that's looking for help. That's not happening in this card. So to me, the true sense of the 6, the true numerology there of providing assistance and guidance and empathy and all of that, helping to lift people up, essentially, really isn't present, I don't think, in this card. I'm going to bypass the Strength card, which is our Major Arcana card. I'm going to come back to that last. Now, here we have the 10 of Swords. I know the scene looks bad, and you can interpret it that way. But to me, when you see the light returning there and you see the 10 to me represents new beginnings. And so in this case, if you look at the swords, you think about swords as it's the air element. So you're looking at communication, you're looking at intellect, you're looking at thought patterns. And here you wake up in the 9 from a nightmare, right? And you're trying to put everything in order. You can see a certain order to that card. You see the 9 swords one by one on top of one another in a line. So that's order. You see a quilt that's covering the person who's sitting up in bed. Again, a sense of order. The squares are all the same, right? Well, not necessarily, the pictures of aren't, but the squares themselves are uniform. And so there's order there. So in a sense, you wake yourself up from your nightmare and you're trying to put it all together in a way that makes sense to you. And it's a nightmare, so it doesn't make any sense, but you're trying to do that. With 9, there's a sense of endings there. And so with endings, maybe the nightmare is over. Well, and the light's returning in the 10. The new day is dawning. You've let go, even though, yes, they're piercing the back of the guy on the sand or whatever, the dirt. And he's dead, clearly. But at the same time, is he? If you just look at this in terms of perception, you're letting go of perceptions that no longer serve you, and the light is returning and something new is about to happen. There's a new beginning there to where you're going to repopulate all that with maybe something better, thinking better thoughts about this or that, right? And so, I don't know. I don't necessarily see this as a negative card. I see this as letting go of perceptions that don't serve you anymore and letting the light return. Again, with today's 11 numerology, the Master 11 of awakening and illumination, I think those two tend to dovetail together there, the concepts of it, of letting go of things that don't serve, that the ego has given you, and letting higher self, higher awareness inform your perceptions now in a way that is not ego-based, and so if you're talking about the loss or decrease of with Thurisaz, the idea of impulsive behavior, right? Then you're letting go of behavior that doesn't serve you well. And what begins the behavior or thought process, I'm going to go do this or that, and then you do it, right? You don't have one without the other. You don't have, even if it's instinctual, there's still something in your head that tells you to do that. And so you can't disconnect the two. Now we come to the 8. We have a lemniscate on her head, which you turn it, it's an 8. That's the symbol for eternity. But here you have the goddess or a woman standing there next to a lion. She's holding the lion's head very lovingly. His tongue is lolling about, and she's petting the lion, and he just loves her. And she's wearing a sort of a rope around her waist of flowers, a garland tied there around her waist there. I believe they look like roses, red roses. And so there's passion, there's purity with the white blouse that she's wearing. But basically, the card of strength is really more of an inner strength in my view. And the eternal need to balance higher awareness with ego. It's taming the wild within and keeping the whole thing in check. It's not that you don't want the wonderful feeling of exploring new things and all of that, that the ego might motivate you to do, but you have to have the wisdom to know whether or not you're wasting your time, or you're just there to have the experience and you're not really going to do anything with it, and so you may learn something out of the whole thing. But again, that's the higher self doing that. That's not the ego and the desire to do, and have. So again, with the card of strength, you're taming the wild within. And that could have to do with Thurisaz here and the idea of keeping your impulses under control and not overreacting in a way that is impulsive. It's one thing to think about what opposes you and to form a plan of defense against it. But if you're the one getting in the way of yourself, then I don't know, that's a different conversation you have to have with yourself, right? And so I think that Thurisaz both gives us the strength to do that, along with the card of strength here from the major arcana. I think both do that for us. I think that one of the meanings, of course, of Thurisaz is new beginnings. And so, again, you're looking at new beginnings here with this 10 card, as bad as it looks. But again, if your thoughts are taking you to a place that is destructive, which impulsive behavior can in fact be destructive, you're not keeping control of that. And what keeps control of it? Certainly not the ego. It's going to be higher self that does that for you, right? So again, let's, before we continue here, though I should have done this right in the beginning. We've got Thurisaz, which is the third rune. So 3 plus 6 plus 8 plus 10 equals 27. 2 and 7 is 9. So we have a 9. I'm going to write that down here so I don't forget. So we have a 9 numerology of endings. Endings, completion, spirituality, generosity. The spirituality part could dovetail well with the master number 11. But generosity could also dovetail with the 6 as well. So I think that how we express that generosity in our lives, maybe, maybe he's just impulsively doing this to make himself feel better, but he's, again, not really doing anything to help change their lives, to offer them an opportunity that will then they can then lift themselves up out of poverty, essentially, by giving them a job or saying, so-and-so has openings, let's go talk to them, I'll go with you and introduce you. And on the way, you find out what skill sets they have to offer and all that, and then you're ready to help them find something else. That would be a better experience of the 6 of Pentacles, I think, for these guys. But at least initially, he is trying to do something. And I'm sorry, that's just the most generous I can be about that card. I don't know. I have a visceral reaction to certain cards in the tarot. The Kings are generally one of them, other than the King of Pentacles. I don't have one with him. I do with the others. And the 6 of Pentacles. I don't like the card. So I don't know. I just never have. I see it the way I see it. But the idea of inner strength, taking that inner strength that Thurisaz can give you. You think about Thor in the movies where he's swinging his hammer, to try to protect, to try to stop the chaos that's happening and to get control so that something positive can happen, and to try to defend against evil, basically, is what he does. So even if you think about it that way, you're trying to defend against your own lack of impulse control, maybe, or somebody else that's opposing you. You're trying to defend with that. But it's such a powerful rune. You have to be very careful how you do that, right? It's not going to do you any good to, either swing a hammer around at people that you don't like what they're saying, and even if they're absolutely wrong and they shouldn't be doing what they're doing, you can't physically do that. And so maybe the power of your words, though, could do that. And you want to be careful there. And so there you have to control the impulses within and make sure that you're actually defending instead of creating more chaos by what you say to other people. And so I think, though, with the 9 numerology, you're looking at both endings and completion of something. So again, if we're going to look at this as impulse control, or a lack thereof, and with emissio being loss or decrease, then I think we could very easily say with this reading that it is trying to control or decrease any kind of lack of impulse control that you have. And where your words get away from you, or the choices get away from you, or your behavior gets away from you in a way that ultimately ends up being destructive. And so in that regard, you're the one you are what is creating your own opposition. And when you think about Thurisaz as what opposes you, well, it's you. And it's not other people, it's just you that's doing that. And so it's something to think about today. We can all get upset about things that we think are not right, and we can all open our mouths, and maybe we should keep them shut, or at least we should choose our words more carefully in a way that doesn't cause other people to get their backs up, although sometimes there's just no way to control that, no matter what you say or how you say it. But at least trying, matters. You can't obviously take responsibility for the reactions of other people or how they choose to react to things or how they choose to behave. That's their choice. But if you're a catalyst for it, then it doesn't hurt to look at that. And a lack of impulse control on your part could be the catalyst for other people to react badly too. And while everybody has to take responsibility for what they do, if you're a catalyst for something, well, it makes sense to be able to see that. And Amicio to me, is saying we need a decrease in that today. So something could happen in your life today where you may react in a way that's impulsive. You may not consider the true meaning of your words in a way that keeps you from saying something that you don't mean, or saying something that makes the situation worse. It could be that taming the wild within with strength is really talking about the same thing. And this is an eternal thing we go through. It's a constant process. It's not something that has endings or beginnings. It's just eternal. When you come into physical reality, those are the kinds of things you're going to be exploring and learning about, and for the soul to experience. But at some point, you got to put an end to it and let the light return. And let a new beginning take hold in how you see things and how you say things and how you react to things. Right? So I think probably that's the simplest explanation of today's reading, putting an end to that, and or at least trying to, because again, you'll revisit it throughout your life. But getting yourself into a different mode of being, a mode of doing, a mode of thinking, a mode of experiencing, so that it's not so reactive, so it's not so ego-oriented. And letting higher awareness actually change how you see everything, and putting an end to letting your thoughts control you. And because the thoughts are generally ego-based and reactive and all of that, and you so easily justify all of it in your mind. And I think that Amicio is just saying, look, this is a time to let that go and to decrease that sort of thing in your life, so that you can find a more higher perspective-based reasoning of things, dropping resistance or just dropping judgment from your life if you can. Work toward that, because the minute we judge, that's when we lose. We lose perspective because we've made a decision about what something is, when the situation or the experience or whatever, the conversation, the interaction, anything that it is, could be way more complex than what you even realize, because you're not taking into account what's going on with the other person, for example, and what maybe is behind their reaction. So there's pieces of things that we just never know, or it's just hard to know, especially if we don't ask. And then you have to depend on other people to tell the truth about it, and want to share that personal stuff, and maybe they don't want to. And so there's always stuff we don't know. And if we drop resistance to that, and we just realize that there could be more to this than we know, then it makes you less judgmental. It's like, well, I can't really judge a situation because I don't have all the facts, and that's a much better place than judging without knowing all the facts. And again, judging without knowing all the facts is a very impulsive thing to do. And when you do that, you become your own worst enemy, basically. You're the one that self-sabotages what you're doing and your responses. So, and the help you think you're giving, maybe it isn't. It's not really achieving what you think you're achieving. You might have the best of intentions. I would guess that this guy has the best of intentions here. But there's unevenness here. There's an uneven balance to the whole thing. And since he's not checking it because it's out in front of him to make sure it's in balance, he's holding it back here. He's just assuming that it is. But it's not. And so there's a little bit of self-deception there. But I don't think he means anything by it. So there can be that operating as well. But in the final analysis, you do end up doing that, and without realizing it. And so what opposes you could be your own belief structure, your own thought processes, are what are getting in the way of actually understanding the truth of something. So I think, again, with the inner strength here of the strength card, you're trying to tame that wild within, that ego within, transmuting ego into spirit, if you will. and seeing things from a higher perspective and understanding how all of that can contribute to misunderstandings, to creating chaos in your life that you don't need. No one else needs it either, but you don't need it. And again, it's the mindset that begins the whole thing. You think you know, but you really don't. And when you can finally understand that and say, I don't have all the facts here. See, I just assume I never have all the facts anymore. I mean, I just assume that because I generally don't. There's always going to be a piece of that I'm not going to know. And what if that's the piece that really gives you the truth about it all? So you're operating under an illusion of your own making because of the choices you make, right? So, I mean, this is kind of an esoteric type of a reading here today, but again, if there's something going on, try to control how you respond to it. Try to control the judgments that you make. Just don't make any at all, if at all possible. Try to keep it at a place where I really don't have all the facts yet. Ask questions, try to find out, but again, somebody may not want to tell you. You have to know that. And so there just comes a point where you let it go and there's an ending to it, with the 9 numerology, endings, completion. You have to let go of all of that and try to see things in a way that either is not ego-based, or at least keeps a lot of that to a minimum. Because again, you just tell yourself, I don't have all the facts yet. I don't know everything I need to know here about this situation that I'm dealing with. And just having the inner strength to control the ego's response, maybe. Because again, that could be very impulsive. That would reflect Thurisaz, and I just think our greatest enemies are ourselves. I don't know that it can be somebody else, who's doing stuff, pulling nonsense or whatever that's harmful, sure. But how we see it, how we react to it, if we let the ego go and run amok on it all, then, maybe we get really angry. And when maybe you'll get further if you don't, So there could be something about that today. But again, letting go of perceptions that don't serve you and don't serve the situation you're in, letting the light return, letting the light come up, the sun's coming up, the light's returning. Again, with the 11 master numerology here for the life path today, for the whole date, in other words, I just think that it brings a level of clarity that we don't have, or at minimum, you're considering the possibility that there's more that we don't know about something, and that it matters and should matter. You're lacking clarity otherwise to really make a decision or to make a effective response, And all too often, the response you end up making is filled with anger and maybe accusations and, all of that when you're nowhere near where you need to be able to do something like that, if it's appropriate to do that. All too often we get ahead of ourselves, and that would be another Thurisaz energy there. Another way to look at Thurisaz is don't get ahead of yourself. Make sure you know before you react. And I just think that with Amicio, it's saying that you need to do that. You need to be sure to drop the reaction until you know, and realize that you may never have all the facts. So what good does it do to try to get into an argument with somebody if you're never going to know all the facts? Seems kind of a silly lesson, doesn't it? Silly exercise, if you will. So anyhow, this is a really general reading once again here, because I don't want to bring it down to anything too specific, but it just seems like there's something's going to happen today where you need to keep a lid on it. And keep a lid on your impulses and try to see things from at least a perspective of, I don't know everything about this, so I'm not going to comment until I do. So that may be the simplest way to look at this. Anyhow, that's it for a Monday. I have not sent out the newsletter. We went away for the weekend, and I had intended to do that, and We were in such a hurry to get out the door that I didn't hit send. And I realized it last night after I went to bed, and I went, oh, geez. So I'm going to send the newsletter out today. Normally it comes out on Saturdays. So if you're a subscriber, I'm sorry about that, and you're watching this, then I'm sorry I didn't do that. I will do that when I'm done here. I'll go send out the newsletter. And so it will go out today. The forecast is out on the blog over at Stepping Aside. The other stuff I put out, I do 4 posts on Sunday nights, or early Sunday morning, as I should say. And they publish then. They're also available on Patreon, Substack, and Medium. And then I write these, the 2 readings I do a week. Also, I put that up on the blog. The blog is Stepping Aside. The web address there is imsteppingaside.com. If you forget, click on more below the video, and it'll open up a window, and you'll see it right there. Plus, you scroll down, you'll see all the other places I'm at if you want to follow me over on any of the social media sites I'm on. That's all there. But other than that, I guess that's it. I don't have anything else to share, I don't think, date-wise. Let me look here real quick. No. Nothing else is happening this week that I want to talk about. We had full moon last week and summer solstice last week. Lots of energy there. So I hope you got to get out and see the moon. It was beautiful. The strawberry moon, the full strawberry moon. It was just lovely. I took pictures and it was great. But anyway, thanks for watching, and click subscribe if you will. I'd love you to do that, and come back on Thursday for another edition of As Above, So Below. Be good to yourself, be good to one another, and blessed be.